It's largely to do with the contacts and the number of politicians who, through former Prime Minister Abe, have had connections with the Unification Church, and the Unification Church and its connections with the Liberal Democratic Party go back to Prime Minister Kishi, who was Prime Minister Abe's grandfather, and it was kind of an anti-communism run and so on. So the revelations are new to many members of the public. A lot of us in Japanese politics have known of these connections for some time, as well as other groups. And so I think it's come as a bit of a shock after Abe's death that these connections are so deep and so concerning for many people that, the rather high ratings for Kishida's popularity have dropped quite substantially just in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. But by not, say removing people with very close ties or saying that they have to put space between the church and their responsibilities, is that really possible with a church like this where it seems the connections run very deep?
Well, the connections are very deep. And even this afternoon when Prime Minister Kishida was at his press conference introducing all the new ministers and the new cabinet, we were getting notifications on our phones saying, oh, yes, but this one actually did receive some funding or contributed some funds and so on. So even with the new cabinet, there are members who still have these connections, it would seem.
Yeah. Now, the president of the church spoke out a little earlier today. What did he have to say in response?
Well, this was interesting and a little bit unexpected, and we all sort of grabbed our Twitter feeds to follow it. He spoke to the Foreign Correspondents Association here in Japan, the Foreign Correspondents Club, and it really just turned out to be a kind of he was trying to say, well, actually, we're the victims here. The news, the way it's been reported and the way that we're being blamed for the death of Abe, it's very unfair, and we really want people to understand that we as a church are not as bad as we've been portrayed, and it, I think, ended up, not being as good for the church as they might have been hoping. It was really quite an eye-opening speech that he gave today.
Yeah, and when you follow, as you said, the Twitter response, it didn't seem to do him too many favours.
No, not at all. And I think there will be more to come of that in the next couple of days as well as we go through that. He kept going over the time that he had been allotted and was very insistent that he gets his story across. And it hasn't made them look better, I don't think, let's say, for now.
Now, there's still commitment to holding a state funeral for Shinzo Abe. Do you think this is going to be able to happen, or do you think there's still going to be sort of controversy around this because of his connections?
The controversy will continue. I mean, the question was asked today at Prime Minister Kishida's press conference, why is he persisting with this when most of in fact, part of the opinion polling has been quite stark in the change and the drop in support for that. And he was again quite insistent that given Abe was the longest serving Prime Minister, and I think he also mentioned the turnaround in the economy and, the Fukushima disaster and so on, all of which is quite controversial in another way. Kishida seems to be sticking to his guns about continuing with holding the state funeral in September. But whether or not he responds a little bit more to the growing dissatisfaction with that will be another question.
Yeah. Let's talk about the cabinet itself, Donna. How well equipped are they, do you think, the new ministers, to tackle the issues facing Japan, particularly given the tensions rising in the region?
Look, Kishida has gone for experience. He's brought some people back in who've held the portfolios. In particular, attention is being given to Hamada, who was the former defence minister. He's come back in as someone who has that experience and had to replace Abe's brother Kishi, whose physical condition was visibly deteriorating before our eyes. He's got some serious health issues, although Kishi will be staying on as advisor to Prime Minister Kishida. So he's also brought back in Kono, who was one of his rivals for the presidency, the LDP presidency last year, and has also another of his rivals, Takaichi Sanae, has been brought back in, or has been brought into the cabinet again to take on the portfolio of economic security. So there's some interesting moves that he's made. He's kept the balance of factions, I think, in a way that will continue his support.
Not much.
Of course, there are enough women. Of course. Yes,
I was going to say, what do you think about the balance of women there?
Oh, look, this, I think, in terms of political capital, if he has any, was a bit of a wasted opportunity. He's only got 2. He's actually removed Noda Seiko, who was previously quite a staunch ally of his. She has queried the revelations about the UC connections, of course. But, in the election last month, we had a record-breaking, if you like, 35 women were elected. And I would have thought that he would have used that as some momentum to bring more women in, but he hasn't. It's the same. You look at them here on the front page of the paper, and it's the same kind of photos we get to see. And average age is, well into their 60s. And I think that's only because there's one young fellow in there at the age of 41. So it's an unfortunate wasted opportunity, I think, to bring more women in when it's the economic security that people are talking about, the rising prices, all those sorts of issues that women are particularly interested in as well. So it's a little bit unfortunate in that respect that he's I guess, just wasted this opportunity.
And shows how much little change is really happening. Good to talk as always, Donna. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much, Beth. Thank you.